off screen, I have to ask, did you ever meet or work with Aaron Sorkin?
I don't. Well, I would say I'm safe in saying that I don't believe I've ever met him.
Okay.
I don't think I worked on any of his projects. No.
All right. Yeah. And so I feel I always have to ask because you
I mean,
never know.
You know, it's
well,
not,
Doug really got around back in the day.
He did.
I mean?
Yeah.
Past,
yeah, I don't think. I would say I think I'm safe in saying no.
Okay. Well, what did you think of the? Now we're bringing on our celebrity guest portion of the most recent episode with Aaron Sorkin.
I enjoyed it a lot. I thought he was very engaging. I loved the story about him bashing in his nose. And
that was a great story, yes.
Just being so invested in his writing that he actually,
is acting it out.
Acting it out, forgetting that there's somebody to hold him back. And,
right. At his own physical detriment.
Yeah.
He's acting it out for more realistic direction and dialogue.
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
Yeah. I thought George Clinton was great, too, on the other one.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in just a second, because that episode is also a bit of a time capsule from 4 years ago now.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing that's great about the guests is usually they do bring on pretty interesting people, and most of the time they're pretty game. There have been some famous examples of kind of people that didn't seem so excited about the opportunity. Like I want to say not Jane Fonda.
I'm curious.
But gosh, I wish I was there for a Jeff Daniels.
Right.
He was the person
connective tissue there with Aaron Sorkin.
Seemed like he hated being there.
Oh wow.
He was arguing with Paula Poundstone, who was one of the panelists.
Okay.
And it was none of it made the air.
I was just going to say, did any of this make the air? Because I want to hear this. Okay.
But yeah,
do you remember what they were arguing about? Because I'm fascinated by it.
I feel like it's one of those like
child care.
Probably child care.
Possibly, sure.
I feel like she made like an off-the-cuff remark that he did not seem to take as a joke, or maybe she asked a question that he didn't like, something kind of a common thing like that. But Jeff Daniels, just in general, and maybe I've always heard that he's sort of a pokey individual in general,
a little prickly.
Yes,
yeah,
and that was definitely true the time that or at least that's a feeling that I got. But I mean, famously, they've had Kim Kardashian on.
Wow.
As one of the Not My Jobs.
Sure.
But they've also had the Department of Energy head at the time. I don't remember his name, sadly. He was Obama's Department of Energy. So they were in the gamut. And usually it's people who are writing a book. That's generally the people that you see that come on to do the Not My Job.
Sure, that was certainly the case with George Clinton.
Right. And is the case with Aaron Sorkin is he had something to plug, which was his adaptation of To Kill a Mockingbird, which is playing on Broadway now.
Right.
And so I think that but I don't really come for guests. The guests are secondary to me because I like the panelists, because
a small portion of each episode. So
really small, and it's interesting that they use the guests to seemingly pull people in, kind of name recognition.
Right.
But the benefit is that the show is really good, and it has been, as far as I've been listening to it.
And then I would say for our listeners, if somebody does want to go back and listen to the George Clinton one, I can tell you I spent a lot of time tracking it down, and let me just spare you the trouble. Just go to YouTube.
YouTube? Oh, YouTube.
Nice.
Okay.
Good. Hey, great piece of advice from Doug. Now, hopefully anyone who's listened to this episode has already gone through their own adventure in finding it. You give a man a fish. You teach him. We're teaching people to fish for old episodes of Wait, Don't Tell Me with George Clinton. Doug, what did you think specifically of that episode? And the experience of listening to old news stories, stuff that isn't new anymore. That's our past.
Yeah. Well, like Brandon said, the format of the show hasn't really changed in any way. So I enjoyed it. I enjoy the segments, and that not that any one segment is too long or, carries on.
Right.
Excuse me. Carries on too long. I always think it's interesting to hear a podcast that is dated when it talks about, politics,
current
and other
events,
things,
Right.
as opposed to current events. I mean, I guess
I
at
see
the
what
time
you're
they're
saying.
talking about current events, but like with the George Clinton one, they're talking about things that happened, quite a while ago.
Right.
And I like that, to hear that and then be able to kind of look back at it and say, oh, okay, interesting. As far as what people were thinking at the time versus what has transpired since then.
Yes.
So I like that. But overall, as far as a podcast and the not just the information that they're trying to get out there, but the way they do it and the comedy and stuff, really enjoyable podcast. I can completely understand why it's one of your favorites, Brandon.
Brandon, high five.
High five.
Yeah,
and it's a super popular radio show as well, which is why and why it works so well as a podcast because it works so well on the radio.
If there was I would say that if there was a way for me to listen to this as a radio show,
right,
I probably would.
There absolutely
you can listen to it on the radio.
Still broadcast on NPR affiliates.
KPCC are the local. It's on every. I think it's 11 o'clock on Saturday mornings. You can listen to, and I always when I was a kid, it was Click and Clack
car
guys at 10 o'clock, and then 11 o'clock was Wait Wait Don't Tell Me, and then it was Prairie Home Companion, and so I just for 3 hours, because I was born an old man, and so I enjoy.
You really were, dude. If you were a child who was cuddling up to the wireless to listen to fucking Garrison,
first it was
fucking
FDR's, what was.
Fireside
chat. Thank you. Damn.
No
Thanks,
problem.
John.
You got
Safety net. There you are.
Safety net.
So as a child, you were probably listening to The Moth.
No, The Moth I actually predate The Moth by just a little bit.
That is true.
But I was there I was there when it came out of the chrysalis. So that was really good.
Right. All right. So guys, I want to, and we're so glad you are the beautiful butterfly you are today, by the way. There's a couple things I want to talk about because it had this. We don't yet know what we're going to think about these people 4 or 5 years down the road.
Yes.
Part of the games that were played on the early 2015, we're almost 2014 at this point, it was January of 2015, George Clinton episode was you get 3 stories about a certain individual, in this case, the individual being Harvey Weinstein, now utterly disgraced sexual assaulter, repeat serial sexual assaulter, Harvey Weinstein, and a guy that even then, when you hear, who was it, P.J. O'Rourke, I believe, giving his version, talking about what a cunt that he was even back then, and we all knew, anyone who's lived in L.A., if you're from L.A., you knew 15 years ago that Harvey Weinstein was an absolute prick. So none of this was surprising.
Not
go on.
Prick related. It was just he was an overall prick.
Right.
It was just a general.
Yeah, well, it wasn't related to his I'm assuming, wildly undersized penis. Yeah,
it was funny.
Just that he was an asshole.
When I was listening to that part of the podcast, I was thinking about it, and then it clicked in my mind, like, oh, wait. This was from 2015.
Right.
It could have been it could have been last week that they made these same, jokes and
sure.
the stuff. And so it kind of threw me for a loop for a second. And I was like, oh, no, wait, this was... And then I was like, wow, this was 2015.
Yeah.
I know. And I'd argue that they might not even use him as the subject of a kind of whimsical...
Never again.
Never now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we learn out of the 2 false stories, 3 stories that the listeners are given and the individual competing is given, and they have to guess, hey, out of these 3 all crazy stories, this is the one that's an actual news story.
Correct.
And it was about Dame Judi Dench, who had apparently been a British TV star and in some British films, really became a worldwide star thanks to producer Harvey Weinstein placing her in one film in particular. Her career took off. How can I honor him? And ultimately, as we hear from the journalists they go to, that the one seemingly crazy story about a tattoo she got was true, and this is the story itself and what she did. So now I'm thinking, every single day that she looks at this...
Right?
JD loves HW.
Or HW, yeah.
HW. How does she feel about that?
She's got to change it. She must have changed it.
I'm hoping she's had it laser
or
removed
something
at this point.
Oh, man.
Gross.
And it's so strange because, and I think this kind of applies to the entirety of that episode, is there was a lightness to everything that was happening that doesn't exist in the modern Wait, Don't Tell Me.
Also true.
It's really the difference between a Obama presidency and a Trump presidency as how it affects Wait, Don't Tell Me. And I felt there was a discernible difference.
Right.
And knowing that a man like Harvey Weinstein, there wasn't this huge upheaval in identity politics and the way that we treat people, which is a good thing. Obviously, it's been
absolutely.
the right way to
go.
This
was, of course, pre-Time's Up, pre-Me Too
movement. Exactly. Which is why you could do a story about Harvey Weinstein and not get pelted.
So do you not think that Judi Dench can isolate her own personal feelings and experiences with Harvey? Well, I'm saying truly because I know a lot of people who still love Michael Jackson music.
Sure.
I turned the channel.
Yeah. Hey, I'm right there with you. But then again, I also thought at least after Off the Wall that Michael Jackson's music is utter shit. If you're an adult human who still listens to Bad and thinks, what a great album, to me there's something wrong with you. So I couldn't stand his music even before I knew he was an alleged serial child abuser. I'll give you an example. You tell me. Your guy who worked with, not you, this is the hypothetical, is some person who worked with Jared Fogle, former spokesperson for Subway.
Those delicious sandwiches.
Had his great product, don't get me wrong. Had his photo up on the wall, like, oh yeah, I worked with him on the campaign. Really sweet guy to me. Then we find out what we find out about him. Even though you go, hey, this was my experience with him, would you just take that image down? Would you be like, no, I'm leaving Jared's image up?
Oh, no, I'd 100% take it down.
That's the idea here, for me at least, is even though she had her own positive experience with Harvey Weinstein and really appreciates the boost he gave her career internationally, that's a tough one, man.
Yeah.
That's
but
a tough one.
I also think I think it's got to be more than one experience for her, because I think those are different. Like meeting somebody once and them helping you, but she's had a long career. I'm assuming, and I could be absolutely wrong.
Sure.
I'm assuming that Harvey Weinstein had more than one movie, as far as playing a role in her career.
No, he did.
I think you're right. And that's why I said, let's say you worked with Jared Fogle for 4 years on and off, 5 years on a Subway ad campaign, always the nicest guy to you. That was your experience. Then you find out everything we now know to be true, not just alleged. 5 years, would you still take it down? That was my point.
I would, but with the tattoo and it's on her ass, how many people are seeing it?
But here's the thing, guys.
Sure.
Do you think she was mad that he didn't hit on her?
Maybe.
Do you think maybe she's like, come on,
I think,
Judy
honestly,
wants to get some?
I think she truly, I mean, obviously, I think just like all of us are probably, she was just as angry that he was this person that she didn't know about.
Totally
there was
agree.
this horrible existence that she was unaware of.
Right. But I'd still want to
But unlike so many people,
Well, yeah, we all want to be
in the film industry who later found out, oh my God, I didn't know. Like, I knew he was an asshole and he was blustering and difficult, but I didn't know this is a different level. Those people don't have a tattoo proclaiming their love for him on
But guys, I
their
got good news. Neither does Judi Dench, because it was temporary.
Temporary tattoo.
It was a temporary tattoo.
You know what? Not at all surprised here, because I heard both stories. One was about then he remembered pickle juice, broke down resin.
Yes.
It does not. Vinegar does not break down a polyvinyl, which is what resin is. And I heard the story about, but that was presented as the true story.
Right, that's from Bluff the Listener, the game that they played on both episodes. Yeah.
Right. And then I heard the Judi Dench story and went, no way she got an actual needle to skin tattoo.
She
on
did
her
not,
ass.
fortunately.
Interesting. That's good to know.
But
it is interesting looking back, and I would say regarding the absolute change in tenor of political humor,
right?
That it's not just, well, that's the difference between humor under a Obama presidency or the difference between an Obama presidency and a Trump presidency when your job is to talk about politics.
Right.
I'd say just bipartisan humor in general had a certain there was a certain distance and adversarial element to it in 2015. There's now so much more distance.
It feels so much more
such
real.
a greater adversarial.
Yes.
Now, because the stakes are a lot higher.
It's really hard to have fun with it when it feels
that's what I mean.
Oppressive.
The whole nature of bipartisan political humor.
Yes.
It's more difficult now.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Doug, in spite of that fact, we're going to try.
Oh, no.
No, we're not going to be on a particularly high. Yeah, go ahead, Brenda.
Are we moving on to the next segment?
Well, I mean, I was going to, but we can certainly throw our star reviews on this.
That's what I wanted to hear, baby.
I know for me, I don't know why I don't listen. If you don't mind, I'm going to go first. So
yeah,
I usually
please.
don't, so I'm just going to jump in because it's easy. This is one of those great experiences where I thought, why aren't I listening to this every week? This is right up my alley. I really enjoyed it. It's definitely more gentle humor than much of what I listen to.
Certainly.
But was still genuinely funny. Again, it's not like The Capitol Steps or that kind of, I don't even understand how this is funny, music
it's not so
satire.
dry.
That's really broad and really easily. This was still fucking funny.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I don't know why I don't listen more often. I'm definitely going to. It's going in my feed now. I have to give this 4.5 stars.
And I would say, John, as one podcast man to another, put it into your workout routine. I know you're in the gym like 6-7 days a week.
Right.
Next time you're in a workout
Yeah.
and you've got a new Wait, Don't Tell Me in your feed, I'd say put